Hey folks, Nick here from Another BookTube channel, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Shaolin Cowboy number 1 through 4 by Geof Darrow. This is my first exposure to the Shaolin Cowboy character. I just picked up this set from my local comic shop. I've read other books that feature Geof Darrow artwork. I've read like Big Guy and Rusty the Robot, and it's great. Geof Darrow is an incredible artist. And I was reading this and I was blown away by the artwork, but I had to ask myself the question, and it's a question I want to ask you guys here. That's the point of this video, is this satisfying? Is this a satisfying comic reading experience for the casual comic reader? If you're watching comic YouTube, you're probably watching cartoonist kayfabe, and they talk a lot about how great Geof Darrow is. And I agree. He is absolutely fantastic. But is it from the perspective, in the case of this specific volume, of this 4-issue miniseries, is it from the perspective of like an artist kind of situation? Or is this satisfying for a casual reader? And I'll kind of explain why I'm having that thought as we go through it. For clarity, this 4-issue series makes up the graphic novel Shemp Buffet, the Shaolin Cowboy Shemp Buffet, I think it's called. So if you don't have the single issues, but you have graphic novels of Shaolin Cowboy, that's the one this correlates to. And we'll jump into it here. Dave Stewart on colors, and we'll talk a little bit about the colors as well. But I don't have any frame of reference for what came before this. I understand there was a miniseries published by Burly Man Comics, which I'm not familiar with and I've never read. So just kind of going into this blind, we get like this resurrection of sorts by the Shaolin Cowboy character, and we're immediately seeing the highly rendered style of Darrow. It's in a desert setting. This rock, it just kind of gets lifted and tossed up. The frog that's on top of it jumps away. And then we get this like long pole with 2 chainsaws at either end that are also thrown out of the hole as our guy digs himself out from the desert and dusts himself off, stands up straight. He's got bloody knuckles, bloody eye. And it's, again, great technical drawing skills. What I really like about Darrow is his ability to create, using the volume of his lines, not necessarily volume in terms of thickness or thinness, but like the amount of lines to separate between foreground and background. So like if you look at something like this, obviously the sky has no lines in it, so our cowboy seems very highly rendered. But if you compare it to a panel like this or this, comparatively, he has a lot fewer rendering lines than what's in the surroundings around him. So that difference in the number of lines to create a visual difference is, really, really great comic creating. He retrieves his chainsaw weapon, and behind him, a bunch of zombie hands burst out from the ground, and they're all coming at the Shaolin Cowboy. He initially turns tail, runs away, doesn't think he's going to be able to fight them, and so he runs off. And this is where we're kind of getting into my initial point here of, is this satisfying or not? Because we haven't had pretty much any dialogue yet. And this is just an entire page of him running away. And it's all very well drawn, but do we need all of it? Is it satisfying to be like, turn a page, okay, he's running away, and then turn a page? I mean, if you're going to sit and if you're an artist and you want to sit and you want to pore over every panel and look at every scratch and every mark, I can imagine it being very satisfying. But from a storytelling perspective, that's where things get a little gray to me. We do get some, he's still running away here, but we get some difference. We introduce this car full of other characters, these kind of college bros who are driving alongside the Shaolin Cowboy, and they're yelling at him, making fun of him. One of them throws a can out their window. The cowboy catches it, tosses it back at them. Can lands on the guy's middle finger, and it's stuck on there. And that'll come back later as well. And these college guys end up driving into the crowd of zombies, and they get trapped there. And that causes our cowboy. Well, actually, not even yet. First, we have this page here, and I'm not a huge fan of this page layout because our first panel is this extra wide panel that goes across both pages. And when you do this, you're establishing that, okay, this is now a 2-page spread, so everything should be read this way. And that's not the case. Instead, it's this top panel that goes all the way across, and then you're reading down the left page and then back over to the right and down the remainder of the right page. And like, I'm sorry, I don't think that that's a good page layout. I don't think that that reads very well. Because if you're starting this way, you're establishing that you're supposed to continue doing that. Our Shaolin Cowboy turns back around to go rescue the college guys from this crowd. Really great weight on the chainsaw stick, the chainsaw weapon. Like, it's got the proper bounciness to it, like a rubber pencil effect, and that carries through as well. Really great detail on that. The cowboy sitting on top of this cliff jumps out and spins the chainsaw weapon around and whips it at the zombies, and we get a really great panel here where we're getting that same layout that I don't love again, but at least the top panel is really, really great, of this spinning wildly and just chopping heads off. I think that works pretty well, but again, not a huge fan of this spread layout. The college guys drive off, but they're not super grateful to the Shaolin Cowboy for saving them. They've uploaded a video of him to YouTube, EWE Tube. And this guy with the can stuck on his finger still is pretty upset that he's been shown up. We then get something that I guess maybe was established in a previous miniseries, but we're in space, and there's this surveillance satellite. Amazingly drawn. I love Geof Darrow drawing stuff like this. Just every nook and cranny is full of detail. And it is a visual feast. Just single spreads like this you can sit and look at, and you don't need to worry about the story so much. You just enjoy what you're looking at. And then we get a little bit of story beat where these guys inside here are, I guess, looking for the Shaolin Cowboy. He's been gone for a while. He's resurfaced. They found the video on YouTube. They think it's him. And we close with the Shaolin Cowboy jumping into action into the pile of zombies. Great panel, great perspective on the chainsaw weapon. And we're into issue 2 now. And issue 2 is where I got the idea for this video, because issue 1, I mean, it's kind of sparse on dialogue and plot, but it's got something there. This has, as you'll see, nothing of the sort. It is all action and nothing more. And that is not necessarily a bad thing. And we get a really good splash page to open it up. Again, really strong perspective. I mean, this is an artist's artist. Geof Darrow is incredible. And the Shaolin Cowboy is just jumping into the center of these zombies to tear them up. Throughout the pages, in the top left, you'll get the gas gauge for the chainsaws, as well as the sound effects. And we're going to see a lot of really creative, interesting zombie kills. But as we flip through here, you're going to kind of see that it's, at least to me, a little bit samey. You know, if you stop and you look at each individual panel and you really sit there and you can appreciate all the different, body positions and all the different just poses and the amount of detail of the blood spatter and all of these decayed bodies in various states, and just all of the rendering, the bugs that are kind of floating around. Each individual panel is amazing, and I would love to own any single one of these original art pieces. But from a storytelling perspective, it's kind of like, all right, all right, all right, you know, like it's all the same angle, and there's movement, but it's not quite different enough from panel to panel to be, to me, particularly exciting. And I think the colors, Dave Stewart's an excellent colorist, but I think he kind of has some trouble here creating excitement through color. Our Shaolin Cowboy is the only character in red and blue, but they're kind of muted, and the zombie colors themselves are also kind of muted. They're just variations of brown and a little bit of brown with green in them. So it's not like a huge color variety either, and the camera angle doesn't really change. And even though we're getting a lot of action and a lot of blood, because it's kind of static, I don't know. There's something about this that doesn't really work for me and doesn't feel super satisfying. Even though you can point it like, oh, the balance, the figures being off balance, the weight of the halves of their body being affected by gravity, like all of that looks great. But from a storytelling perspective, how is it? What does it do for you? And so that's my question for you, the casual comic reader, the casual viewer. Look, it's all the same camera angle. What do you feel about that? You know, am I being, way too picky? Am I as someone who's not an artist himself, punching up, like obviously Geof Darrow could draw circles around me and he's incredible, and I'm not denying that. It's just the matter of satisfaction. I don't understand this splash page. This never comes into effect again, this woman and this cameraman. But the next issue, no, we're in issue 3 now. And so far we've spent $12 on this story, and we've gotten like this panel layout, like for the majority of it. And we keep going with this same angle for a while. We're 9 pages in, and it still hasn't really changed too much. Again, individual drawings, great. But where we go, like, what's different? What's really keeping us? Is this worth the 399 cents as the cover advertises? Now we finally run out of gas in that chainsaw weapon, so we're going to get a little bit of variety here. And I like this moment where the gas runs out, he's pulling the lever, and nothing's happening anymore. And so it kind of stops midway through cutting through these zombies, and he has to reassess. And so now he starts, doing some different maneuvers. He jumps up, kicks out these zombies, and he lands on top of the stick, the connecting stick. We get good bend. We feel him putting weight down, and that propels him up. So I'm not saying Geof Darrow can't do this. Of course he can. He's incredible. I'm just saying this particular story, is there enough of stuff like this? And now we're getting into another sequence that I'm lukewarm on. So he is now jumping from head to head on these zombies and just crushing their skulls. And he's doing that again here. And he's doing that again here. He's doing it again here. And he's doing it again here. And all of their positionings are changes, all their poses are changing, and they're all well drawn. But that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was 6 spreads, all with basically the exact same information. And it was 6 spreads, 12 total pages of the exact same information. And he does this here in this next page. But what I would have maybe preferred is a bit of a progression, where maybe on this first page, he's up here, and then on the next page, he's here, and then in the next page he's here, and so on until he's all the way across the page. And he does that here on these wide angle lens with these widescreen pages where he's here and then he's in the middle and then he's on the right and then he's jumping off like that. I would have liked that on those previous pages as well. We get a moment of breath for him because he's exhausted, and you feel that exhaustion. He's pouring sweat off of himself. He sells it really well, and that's the end of the issue. All that's $4. That's $4 of your dollars. Was it satisfying? That's the question. And now we're at the last issue of the run of the series, and we get a little montage of him doing his Shaolin hand movements, and he gets ready to jump back into battle. And now this is fun to me because we get hand-to-hand combat, and we're getting a little bit different camera angles. We're seeing him in different poses. We're getting kind of a close-up rather than just a single wide shot. So we're getting a lot of boom, 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 like fast cutting. This is a heavily edited action sequence to keep the pace up. And again, even though there's no dialogue, still this feels a little bit more exciting to me because you can really kind of feel the motion. You could follow it easier without that big chainsaw weapon and just his fists going at it. So this reads a little bit more fun to me. But again, it is still just like, it's just punching and a blood fest. Although I find this more satisfying than the previous two issues. And I trying to avoid repeating myself, but everything is really well drawn. And in this case, I do find the action to be really satisfying. Great. This is awesome. The kick to the head, the eyeball popping out. Great stuff. He does a couple of these. This is really awesome, where he gets really close up, and there's just just a ton of these, just this montage of blood in a row. These are really fun. These are really creative. These are really different. Does it here as well. And we continue to wind down. The numbers of the zombies are dwindling until we finally get one last punch, knocks his block off, and he's just standing amongst the wreckage of all these contorted, desiccated bodies. And as he's standing there, dripping sweat, he gives praise to Buddha, and then very suddenly he is shot from this rock outcrop out here. That frog is back, and we get the blood splatter into the sky, and we see that the guy that he slighted in issue 1 with the can, like sticking it on his finger, has shot the Shaolin Cowboy. The frog returns to his post on the rock, and that's it. That's the whole series. So there we go. I don't want to come across as me saying that these aren't good. I'm not saying they're not good. I'm asking, are they satisfying for a $16 experience? Which now, if you go and you buy the graphic novel, it's probably $20. Is this satisfying for that price point? If you are a casual comic reader, if you're an artist and you love technique and all that, of course you're gonna eat this up. You're gonna love it. You're gonna have a feast. It's for the casual reader. Is this enough? Is this enough for you? Is my question. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. For me, it was a little light on variety. I think some of the spreads were a little repetitive, particularly issue 2. Didn't work so much for me from a storytelling perspective. So I'm very curious if you guys feel the same way. Let me know in the comments. And let me know if the other Shaolin Cowboy series are different than this. I think this is the first one published by Dark Horse. And I haven't read any other ones. So let me know if the other ones change, or just are different than what I've shown off today. Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. But now it's time to get back to reading.